Hey y'all, how's it going? My name is Reverb and welcome back to Architectural Adventures. In this video, we will be building this quaint house, and I found this listing for it somewhere on the internet. I honestly can't remember at this point, but it looks to be a house from, if I had to guess, I would say sometime between 1930s and 1950s. It looks pretty cool, and this diagram was also kind enough to give us a nice floor plan of both the first floor and the second floor so we can recreate both with decent accuracy. Now, this is not the most grandiose building in the world, but I want to spend this video focusing on two specific things. We're going to, one, really focus on interiors, as that has been something I've neglected in the last two videos, and two, I want to implement doing 2 block wide walls. And what that'll mean is in one room, the wall color will be 1 block. And then on the room that adjoins that wall or the hallway, it'll be a different block so we can customize the colors of the walls for each room. And more importantly, the outside of the house versus the inside of the house. So you don't have one of those rooms where you have two walls are like the outside block, like brick or stone or something like that. And then the inside is like wood planks. We want to avoid that. And so for this build, we're going to try to work on a small scale and build 2 thick wall blocks and really focus on the interior details. As you can see behind me, I've cleared out a decent space for us to work with. Just got rid of the trees. Starting with a 25 by 25 foundation, including the porch, let's put in a nice hardwood floor for all of the different rooms and the hallway. And for the kitchen, I want to do a checkered floor, so I'm going with calcite. And at first, I tried blackstone, but wasn't quite agreeing with how it compared with the calcite, so we're going to go with coal blocks instead for that nice checkered floor. The dining room, word of the day, wainscoting. I had to look this one up. That's the lower border around where we're using dark oak, and then for the top I wanted a nice bright vibrant blue. In general, this house is going to be, colorful. It's going to be vibrant. We're not doing modern, all the walls are white. In this house we're doing more Victorian style with deep dark colors. So for the living room, we're going with a red nether brick. Tell me the last time you used this block before for anything. And for the study, we're of course doing bookcases for all the walls, and I wanted to experiment with more blocks than I normally typically use. So we have the beehives as the complementary sections outlining the bookshelves. So I first attempted to make a rustic looking kitchen with a lot of detail on the walls, but it really didn't look that great. So I opted to just scrap it and went with a rooted mud block instead. I played with some details, but decided that one uniform look was good enough. All the rooms aren't just going to be connected to the hallway, we're also going to connect them to each other like in every other home, and nothing is connected better than the kitchen and the dining room. So we have a doorway, and we're going to punch a hole right through to form a big window to be able to pass food across and whatever else, just like in regular homes. And now for the study and the living room, at first I wanted to do a middle door, but didn't really like it, so went with the more sideways door and flushed that out so the bookcase was aligned. Rounding things out, let's go with a yellow hallway with a detailed yellow wainscoting. I really want to use the honeycomb block, but it really wasn't looking great, so I experimented with a couple of different colors and ultimately decided to go with the glazed terracotta yellow in this back and forth pattern here, which I think works out pretty well with a nice level of detail without it being too crazy. Our next step is to build a quick staircase based off of the blueprints. It'll be towards the back of the hallway, and we'll have an entryway for the back door. Now, I think this is going to be a pretty narrow staircase just so it's not jutting into the available room space. Yeah, let's just see how it goes. This will be the entryway. And I think what we want to do is place this here. Or do we want to turn it in this way? Yeah, that matches this pattern better. And then we'll have that. and this will form a doorway of sorts. We don't need to necessarily put a door itself, it could just be an opening, but this will be the entryway that you can get into the library and the kitchen. From here, we'll have this blocked off, and we'll put the staircase in like this. And we'll put the terracotta there eventually. I just need to pattern it properly. And here we are. This staircase, like I said, it's pretty narrow. It's only 1 block wide. Normally I like to go 3 blocks wide if I can. And we have our pathway here. Initially, I had it open like this, just like the rest of the hallway, but it looks a lot weirder. It's just too open of a space. So we'll close this off. That way it's more of a narrow passage to get to the back here. Looking at the floor plan, you can see we're actually going to be dealing with slightly different room shapes for the second floor opposed to the first floor. And this one is a lot more dynamic than just 4 equally sized squares. Now, since it's the upstairs, it's going to be bedrooms for each room. And we won't need to worry about anything being necessarily thematic, you know, like the library, the walls are bookshelves. And the kitchen, I didn't put in windows yet because we're going to be dealing with kitchen appliances and all that stuff. So when we decorate, it'll be very busy. These rooms are just bedrooms. So I wanted to go about thinking about whose bedroom they are, just to anchor us a little bit in terms of what colors to use. So we'll have a boys' room, a girls' room, the parents' room, and we'll have an additional room that could be a guest room of sorts, I suppose. I think I want to start with this room right here in this top corner. This will be the girls' room. We'll put the boys' room here. The guest room will be out in front. And the master bedroom will be the largest room over on this side. And it'll have its own walk-in closet. And that'll be for the parents. With that out of the way, now we have our fully shaped house. I say fully shaped because this is essentially, like, these are all the rooms, but it's not quite finished. As you can see, it's all the interior, and now it's time to beef up the exterior and put on that outer layer. So it'll finally look like one complete house. Looking at the image, there are, I would call them 2 sections of the wall. There's the first floor and the second floor, and although it's in black and white, they are different shades, which makes me think that they're different colors. And trying to take some creative liberty and to increase the amount of color visible within and without the house, instead of, you know, plain old boring white houses that we see nowadays. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with acacia and mangrove planks for the outside. Now, in the picture, the first floor is the lighter shade and the second floor is the darker shade. So we're going to go orange at the bottom and red at the top. And I think that color combination together will look really nice. So let's see how it goes. Looking good so far, but now comes a tricky part that I have not quite planned out yet on how this will turn out. So hopefully it goes well enough. But now we have to do the roof. And as you can see, it's not just a standard roof, it's overlapping and cutting into the second floor. And we have obviously the protrusion in the front of the front room and the balcony, which I have built up already. But other than that, we're going to slice through both sides, like this side and this side here, upwards. And what's really going to be tricky is I don't know how tall it'll be and how wide it'll be, and it all kind of, I feel like it'll all just like fall into place how it has to be out of necessity just to fit the size of the house. So let's toy around and figure out if we can get this to work. So here's the roof. As you saw, I played around with a bunch of different types of roofs, whether we use stairs or slabs, and tried to adjust the height. Took a little bit of playing around, but I think I got it to a level that is good enough. And here's the side profile. One last thing I want to try to do before we move on to the interior is put some shutters up against all the windows. The windows are kind of close together, so if the shutters overlap in a weird way and it doesn't look quite right, I'll scrap it, but I just want to try see how it looks. Overall, I think it looks pretty good. It adds a little bit more detail into the wall to help break things up. Oop, that's a tree. And I don't think they overlap too terribly, like the ones in the middle here, so that's good. We also need to fill in the windows, and this is going to be very tricky because, you know, we have 2 block wide for the walls, so I were to, I don't know, put some glass panes, we get this weird, like, connecting point in between. So I played around a little bit, and ultimately, I feel like just putting solid blocks what's best, because at least you can't see the second one on the other side. We had it like this. I mean, it could work, but I don't know. I just think it's a little too built in, like this wall juts out too much. We want to try to create the illusion as best we can that it's a thin wall, just painted different colors on each side. If you are creating a build like this and you want to go with a different window setup, feel free. Let me know how it goes and if you think it works better than just the blocks. Now that that's done, let's move on to the interior and actually furnishing the house. Let's start with the kitchen because this is going to be decently detailed, and I want to try to finally figure out where to punch holes into the walls to get some windows, get some light in here. Now we're going to go with granite stairs as a granite countertop. I think that'll look best. Add some different colors into the room rather than white and gray. And, you know, I'm an old school guy. So for the fridge, we have to go with the classic door dispenser. Actually, let's put the button on this side. This feels more appropriate. Crock this full of food, you press the button, it spits out, and then it closes again. So we'll have this countertop like this, and then let's put in an island. There we go. I think that'll work well. Put the sink here. Fill this baby with water. And I think a window would go right in front, like that. That'll be good. We'll have our oven here with our stovetop and a simple ventilator, or whatever it's called. I think we can punch a hole into here for a window. And the last thing that a kitchen needs is some cabinets. For the living room, I'm thinking we do just a bunch of couches, a rug, and we'll do a fireplace in this corner here. We don't have a ton of room to work with, so I think that this will be good. And then we can actually... punch a hole through like this, and then have another fireplace. Alright, with that, let's make a sofa. Do an L-shaped one here. And And then I want to have chairs. There we go. I'll tell you, these shelf blocks are really nice. It's only a shame that they announced in the next update that we'll be getting wool steps instead of just, using solid hard prismarine as a comfy sofa. Lastly, we are going to make a cool rug. I've seen this style of design before, but I've never actually gotten to try it yet. So the carpet can generally, I think, be made out of any kind of colorful block, but then you add a nice border of dead leaves around it as like the board of the rug, which I think looks pretty cool. For the library / study, we're gonna want a nice like executive desk and probably some storage to fill the space a little bit. As always, the person at the head of the desk, they get the fancy chair, while whoever's sitting with them gets slightly smaller chairs. Just to add a little bit of detail, let's put a book and quill there on the desk for the owner of the house to write in. Last but not least, for the first floor, we are going to be doing the dining room. Now, it's going to be pretty straightforward. Try to work with the space we have and make a nice table. I know I've been using a lot of wood, but tables are typically made out of wood. You don't really see stone tables in family houses, so we'll do what we can. Now, these walls are actually looking a little bare, so what if we add some painting? I think that adds a lot of character to the room in such a subtle way. Let's do 3 beds. You know what? Let's do something a little bit fun. If I remember the order correct. Actually, I think this goes there and that goes there. And then we'll have the Powerpuff Girls. See, what's nice about the double wall is I could do something like this, put it into the wall, and then don't have to worry about it popping up through the other side. So overall, this has been working pretty well. Let's give each of them a nice flower. There we go. Just trying to add some more details. I think this is good enough for this room. And here, as you can see, we already have a closet space for whoever's in this room. And I have slabs here to allow you to open up the chest. All right, for the boys' room, I wanted to go all out. Big posters over each bed on the wall. So we're doing the 3x3. Let's also give them nightstands and a table here. And I feel like they would have a bookshelf. Let's do that. On to the master bedroom. This one's going to be pretty tough just because how big it is and just trying to fill this space. So let's see what we can do. This is a closet. So we can just light that up like that. And we'll just have chests. Nothing crazy. This is, like I said, it's a closet. Let's actually add a armor stand for your outfits. There we go. That's the closet there. All right, I'm going to be playing around a little bit with a bed design. Let's see how it looks. No, that looks like trash. I guess we put that there for a little bit of detail. I do want the banners to work. I just don't know how. All right, I think that's the best we're going to get for the bed. Probably. I don't want to, overdo the detail, and I want it to try to work best as it can. But this room is actually pretty lit up as it is. There's a lot of windows and the campfire there, but I do still want to put down some lanterns for when it gets dark at night. And finally, we come to our last room, which is the guest room. It's pretty short, pretty small, so we can't add a whole lot of details. So let's give him a bed and a nightstand. We'll give him a cabinet and a table. Let's give him a flower too. Weird exotic flower that I do not know what the heck it is. Let's just try to break it up a little bit with another carpet, a little rug. Step out onto the balcony. Let's actually put some chairs for the balcony. That. Look over at Monticello over here, and some other things will be built along the way. And with that, I think we can put our rubber stamp on this house and say it is complete. Obviously, we could always touch up with more detail, but for our purposes, I think that this is a good place to leave off. Thank you for sticking around and watching this. Apologies for the delay. This took me a very long time to make. I had to make this video in piecemeal over a span of about a month just because life has been crazy busy for me. But I think this house came out pretty well compared to our source material. The use of the 2-block wide walls came together super well. I'm very excited for that. I was worried that, it gets too bulky, it gets too tight, but we were able to upscale the house just enough that each room had enough space to put enough level of detailing in. And like I showed you earlier, the ability to have posters or bookshelves jutting into the wall and not worry about it popping out on the other side was so nice to be able to do, and to really add a level of detail that most times are limited because you only have that one block. And that'll wrap up this episode of Architectural Adventures with Reverb. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Goodbye!